Harold Clark, how we doing tonight? I am starting off duo interstatal. All right, here we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Angie's Angles. It is March the 6th in the year of my Lord 2025. We're going to have a hot show tonight, as the title says. Pete Rose, Hall of Fame, question mark, question mark, question mark. Let me get a little housekeeping out of the way. Special thanks to Barbara and my family, Terry and her daughter, my in-laws, for making this weekend a very memorable and wonderful 60th birthday celebration. I am officially my parents' age. How that happened, I'm not quite sure. All right. So Pete Rose, he died. He passed away recently, last month or so. And there's been a push, both in the political landscape and also the baseball landscape. Donald Trump, for some interesting and slightly odd reasons, has promised a full pardon of one Pete Rose. Now, for those that are saying that there was nothing to pardon, I disagree. Pete Rose served 5 years for tax evasion. 5 years in prison for tax evasion. So maybe Donald Trump is looking to purge that from his record. His family could say that he was never a convicted felon, I suppose. But more importantly, and Clark, you and I are going to disagree vehemently. Pete Rose does not belong in the Hall of Fame. And I'm going to list some of my reasons. And let's have a dialogue about this. Let's discuss this. Let's understand why I am so adamant on one Pete Rose not being allowed into the Hall of Fame. And of course, he can't get in the way I get in by buying a ticket because he doesn't exist anymore. But there's allegations and plenty of evidence to back up that he corked his bats. Number one. A lot of people cork their bats. Okay. You want to poo-poo that? Okay. The five months in prison for tax evasion, it was 5 months, not 5 years, for tax evasion. Okay. You want to say in the early 2000s, one Bud Selig, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm having a hard time believing myself that I'm about to say this, but I'd welcome Bud Selig back as Major League Baseball commissioner over one Rob Manfred any day. Any day. Any day. In the early 2000s, Bud Selig offered to wipe the slate clean, but Pete had to agree to no more casino appearances and no more gambling. It was a hard pass. He said no. And as he said no, he kind of spit in the face of baseball by showing up at the Hall of Fame inductions in Cooperstown, setting up a table, and signing baseballs. Now, he had every right to do that. I'm not going to take a man's livelihood away from himself. I'm not going to do that. But Pete had no remorse. When a criminal goes before a judge and either pleads for leniency and mercy on the court and admits his errors and asks for forgiveness, that's one thing. But when you spit in the face of baseball, where they're offering you a clean slate, and you say, take a hike, you lose it. You lose it on my end. You lose the argument with me that you should be allowed in the Hall of Fame. Not only that, but ESPN had a big report done where there was substantial evidence that not only did he bet on the game of baseball as a manager, but also as a player. Harold Atkins, I am trying to steal. Patrick Burke, yes. If Pete goes in, so does Shoeless Joe Jackson, who, batted 420, 450 in the World Series and was alleged to have thrown the game by batting 420, 450. Are you freaking kidding me? Stop. Enough. Clark, I researched this before I started the podcast, and I don't just spew personal feelings. And I believe that evidence is under wraps, but I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it, Clark. Okay? I do promise to do that. But here's the sticking point. And it's as recent as when the Phillies decided not to honor him in the World Series memorial that they had with the Phillies. Pete Rose had sex with an underage girl. The girl was 15 years old. Pete was 34. Pete claimed she was 16. She was shy of her 16th birthday. And he said that happened a long time ago. Get over it. Now, I will be the first to admit that there are a lot of bad guys in the Hall of Fame. Sure. But Pete Rose accepted no blame on anything that he did. Clark, he admitted it. He admitted that he had sex with an underage girl, and he claimed in Ohio that the age of consent was 16 years old. This is all vetted, Clark. I'm not making this up. And if you want to hang your hat on, I know you're not, but I'm saying, if you want to hang your hat on that it was legal, baseball has a clause, moral obligation. And a 34-year-old should not be having sex with a 16-year-old. I don't care what state you are, including the state of confusion. Okay? Clark, there are a lot of crimes that go unpunished, not being arrested. And the statute of limitations, to my knowledge, expired. But Pete Rose adamantly and readily admitted that he had sex with a 16-year-old. Now, the girl claims she was 15 at the time of the initial interactions. Do we ignore that? Do we sweep it under the carpet? Pete Rose was a bad human. Phenomenal baseball player. Want him in my dugout 1,000% to do battle. No arguments. Zero arguments. But just because potentially it was legal to have sex with a 16-year-old, and that's a falsehood, Clark, on Ty Cobb, and I'll send you the information on Facebook. Ty Cobb has been railroaded as well as being a bad guy. He was not. Did you know, Clark, that Ty Cobb answered every single letter that was written to him by kids? He personally answered them. There is no proof that Ty Cobb was oh, you're yanking my chain. Don't get me started, Clark, because you and I, we're from the same mold, my brother. Oh my goodness. If you want to have a Pete Rose piece of paper in the Hall of Fame acknowledging his hits, his acumen, okay. But he can't have a plaque with the Immortals. It just cannot, should not, and hopefully will not happen as long as I'm breathing. Once I'm done, Patrick Burke, so did I, FYI, when I played ball. I didn't necessarily sharpen my spikes, but I went spike first at the ankles. Clean, legit. Get out of my way. That base is mine. Anything above this shin is illegal, and Ty Cobb never did that a day in his life. Mr. Burke. This whole Pete Rose push, now that he's dead. Now, gentlemen and ladies, it was a lifetime ban, and that lifetime ban conveniently doesn't cover after you die. I was not a dirty player, Clark. I was a clean player, but I played with aggression. 1,000%. I slid spikes first. I never head first slid into any base except for home plate when I'm trying to get my hand in there. If I'm going into second, I'm going to third, my cleats were leading the way, and I'm aiming for your ankle. And you knew I was coming at you. And that's a clean slide, 1,000%, all day long. That'd be all right, Clark. I took many balls to the shoulder blades, took many to the back. I had no problem, and I didn't rush the mound. But that's how baseball should be played, not the pansy game that we're playing today. You all saw that video. It was a Met game. They had to run it dead to rights, but because the glove was blocking the access to the base, the runner was safe, even though he was out by a mile. I mean, I don't understand what's going on with our beloved game. The stats of yesterday have been bastardized. The bases are bigger. The ghost runner exists. The 2 disengagements from the mound. The goddamn pitch clock. The only game that had no time clock now has a time clock. Sadly, Harold, he could only get in on the Veterans Committee, Harold. He can't get in the normal way, thank God. And I would hope that the Veterans Committee is a purist like myself when it comes to the game of baseball. The cardinal rule, the number one that is every clubhouse. Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio were banned from baseball because they needed to make money and were spokespeople for the casinos. Now that's a little contradictory because you got the FanDuel and the DraftKings and the Caesars this and the Caesars that in today's world. You got Shohei Ohtani. And you cannot convince me a day I'm alive that he didn't bet. And that his personal assistant took the blame, his interpreter took the hit and the fall. Clark, I could yield to that. And let's put you on the big screen on Angie's Angles. Clark Altman says, I'm with you, Harold. I've been saying for a long time, put a plaque in the Hall of Fame and he gets no pomp or circumstance, just a plaque. Now that he's gone, put it in. He cannot go on the wall. He cannot have a likeness of his face anywhere in the Hall of Fame. Are we going to bastardize the Hall of Fame? Regardless of if 16 years old was the age of consent in Ohio. So, gentlemen, let me put it to you this way. Who amongst us would support plantation owners owning slaves back in the day because it was legal? I don't think there's a person among us who would say that was okay. Just because something is legal It is not moral. And the clause is in every single baseball contract, the moral clause. Yes, Patrick, I'm okay with the uniform being there, or the ball, or the bat that he got with his 3,000 hit, or his whatever it was. I have no problems with the memorabilia that he accomplished. But Pete Rose bust belongs as far away as from Cooperstown as humanly possible. I don't know what else to say about that. I really don't. And we're having good banter here. Hey, Charlie, thanks for joining us. What's going on, my friend? Thank you. I appreciate you signing in, Charlie. It's been a lively Angie's Angles tonight so far. We're at the 846 mark. I've been consistent, adamant. There is no chance that Pete Rose gets into the Hall of Fame. If you ban Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle from baseball, Willie Mays, because these guys were not making the gazillion dollars that they are today, and they needed a job to support their livelihood, I don't see how you just dismiss Pete Rose's gambling. I don't see it. I don't see it. I'm trying to get an update on Mr. McGowan. When I do, I will report back on that. To my knowledge, he's still in rehab, recovering from his stroke. Yeah, Charlie, we spoke about Shoeless Joe, who happened to hit above 400 in the World Series and was still alleged to have thrown the game. Yes, Harold, at the time that they were repping the casinos, they were given a choice, either stop or be banned. They couldn't be a coach. They couldn't be an instructor. They couldn't go to spring training. They couldn't be in the dugout, etc., etc., etc. And that's horrible, especially when you got the Caesars suite and the Draft King is now sponsoring MLB. And let's not forget about the swoosh on the jerseys of Nike, who operate sweatshops in China. No, it was not lifetime bans, Harold. But at the time, that I think it was the late 60s, if I'm not incorrect about that. If somebody wants to correct me, feel free. Harold Atkins, we're putting you up. Once he admitted to betting, he stained his legacy. What example do we set for those that could be Hall of Fame worthy if they decided to follow that path? Once you're banned, that's it. Well put, Harold. You know the law. You know the rule. Okay, don't call it a law. Call it a cardinal rule of baseball. Thou shalt not bet on the game of baseball ad nauseum. Done. Finished. And let me say this. I place wagers. I'm sure we all place wagers. We do the Super Bowl boxes. We play the lottery. We do this. We do that, right? Football boxes are illegal. They're not legal, but yet we do them, myself included. He claims that he bet when he was the manager on his team. And I've said this on past Angie's Angles, but let me replay it. You're losing 4-2, fifth inning. You're having a really good offense, but your pitcher doesn't really have it. Now you're going to make decisions because you got to win the game. You don't give your pitcher time to work it out. You don't ride him a little bit. You pull him because he gave up 4 runs. And now you're going to your bullpen, and we all know, depending on your bullpen, that could also blow up. So you make decisions that are not normal when you got money on the game. You're pulling out every stop. You're going against every gut feeling in every matchup possible because you got to win the game to win that money. I'm sorry. You can't tell me that didn't happen. I don't have proof that he did all that, what I just alleged. But as a gambler, you got to know that when you're playing poker, you bluff. It's part of the game. Pete Rose never denied anything I just produced here on Angie's Angles on March the 6th. And when given the opportunity to come clean and accept responsibility and ask for forgiveness, he said, F you! F you, he said. I don't need baseball, he said. And then the reporter, when the reporter, a female reporter, when she questioned Pete Rose about the sexual conduct of the 16-year-old and the 34-year-old, he goes, babe, give it a rest. That was a long time ago. His words, not mine. This will be the last time I even give any credence to his name. Wherever the chips may fall, they'll fall. I will not accept it in my world. Feel free. Carmen, I didn't see you sneak on. Carmen, how are you, brother? And I know all you guys like to see the old flamethrower. Okay. I've said my piece about it. You all know where I stand. I think we've reached an agreement where, sure, maybe a little snippet on a piece of paper that's etched in metal, acknowledging some of his accomplishments on the field. Okay, maybe I could handle that. I'd have to really deep down dig inside and see if I could. I'm not really sure. But he doesn't get a plaque on the wall. He gets no ceremony. It should be as anonymous as possible. All right, we have the prayer circle tonight, and a little lengthy, not too bad. Tonight, and as every night on Angie's Angles, for those newcomers, we do a little prayer circle. So if you have somebody in need, you can shoot me a PM. It could be anonymous. You could let me know what the ailment is or what the need for the prayer is. Doesn't matter. Harold Sanderson, we're praying for your wife and your co-worker. Dawn Squared. Scott Tobias, we're praying for your wife and your mom. Linda Stein, we're praying for your dad and yourself, both with your hand injury and the way the world is today, my friend. Mark Brooks, we're praying for your dad and yourself and for the Brooks family as they set the foundation on their new home that was destroyed by the act of an arsonist. I'd like you all to hit the knees pretty hard for my buddy Kevin Elliott, who's going through some major health issues and challenges. We promised you him on the podcast, but he's just not up to speed to do it. We hope and pray that he recovers and gets back to it, and we'll have him on here. The Krause family, we're praying for Darcy, her foot, Aubrey, that cancer remains in remission. Clark, my brother, we're praying for your brother-in-law, Brad, your sister Trish, and yourself as you handle that hip replacement. Deb and Lee down in Maryland, we're praying for Lee and hoping that the medical comes back well. Marianne Bello, we're praying for your mom as she faces her aging ailments. Larry Levy, continued prayers that your wife Frida has cancer beat and remains in remission. Mr. McGowan, sir, we have your 6. Big John, Smoke Therapy Lounge, we're praying for Cousin Richie. Phil's Nona and your friend Irene. Ralph, another friend from the lounge, we're praying for Anna Hancock. Tom, Smoke Therapy Lounge, we're praying for your friends Paul and Jana as they both face cancer. Joe, we're praying for your friend Wayne who's dealing with ALS. John, my other friend from the lounge, we're praying for John Kane. Alex, Smoke Therapy Buddy, we're praying for your family. And we covered this 8 months ago, Alex, when your wife passed. And we're praying that your family and your children face each day with hope and the ability to carry on. Mike, we're praying for Mike from Cigar Lounge. We're praying for your son Matt, who suffered a concussion training some MMA fighters. Randall and Missy Canup, we're prayers for your adoption case, that the court sees the goodness in your hearts and grants you that adoption. And special prayer to the Jacoby family. My high school buddy, Craig Jacoby, his sister Diane, his brothers Ken and Tommy, and their mom, Mrs. Jacoby, on the passing of their dad, 93 years old, Mr. Jacoby, a force to be reckoned with. They were my neighbors back in the day in Oceanside. Their dad just passed away. He was very, very involved in the fire department. So we'll keep you guys in our thoughts and prayers. I appreciate everybody taking a moment for the prayer circle. Belated birthday wishes to West Coast Dave Prince. We're fellow Pisces, Dave, you and me. Special shout outs to Bobby White, Irene Medford, Jamie Schreckinger Kaplan, all on our birthdays. Irene, Jamie, and myself share the same birthday, March 2nd. Bobby White on the 1st of March. Tracy at Adelphi University, also a happy birthday, March the 3rd. And Mike Russell, the chef at Adelphi University, he's a leap year baby. He turned the ripe old age of 17, I believe it was. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not really sure. Ladies and gentlemen, next week I'm going to tackle the National League East. I'm going to predict the Mets stats player by player for the starting 9 and the pitching staff. We're going to go over the standings where I feel everybody's going to land in terms of National League East. So it'll be a hot and heavy Angie's Angles next Thursday. We're at the 8:59 mark. This has been Angie's Angles, graciously held at Smoke Therapy, 215 Ronkonkoma Avenue, Ronkonkoma, New York. If you're ever in the neighborhood, let me know in advance. Cigars on me. We've got bourbon, we've got vodka, we've got Guinness beer. Come in, have a cigar. Let's talk baseball. Angie's Angles. Good night. God bless. I love you.